We've been worrying about what is happening with ransomware, with cyber attacks, and where is it coming from. We've got a new study out that's showing that 1 in 5 manufacturing companies are not only targeted by cyber attacks, but are getting nailed and getting nailed badly. This is a bigger problem than I think most of us realize. And I have a few manufacturing clients who have been nailed badly by cyber attacks, very badly. There is a new study out that looked at this. It's called the Manufacturing Cybersecurity Threat Index. And this is a report that has the results of surveys of 567 manufacturing employees. Now, that is quite a few, and most of these people were, in fact, in the IT side of things. Some of them were specifically in the cybersecurity side. What was most interesting about this isn't the fact that just that 1 out of 5 manufacturing companies is targeted by cyber attacks, but what the response, what the thoughts of these people that run the companies are. And I say that because I am just constantly amazed at how businesses just are not paying attention to this. And this is proof again, and here's what it is. Information stealing malware makes up about 1/3 of attacks. But companies are worried about what? Ransomware. They're worried about ransomware shutting down production. That is a very big deal because, of course, it does. But what is going to hurt you more? And that's what you got to figure out. That's what companies have to really look at. These numbers that we're looking at are, according to this article I'm reading at Dark Reading, which is a great site. If you haven't been there before and you'd like to follow some of these things in the cybersecurity world, definitely check it out. Dark Reading, very easy to look at. Lots of good stuff. But Robert Limos is a contributing writer over there, and he's the guy that wrote this. So he is saying that more than 1/3 of all manufacturing firms are attacked every month. That's absolutely amazing. Now, of course, not all manufacturing employees really know when a company is being attacked, but ransomware attacks, that they know. Because usually that means much of the company is shut down when it happens. Because ransomware attacks have this major impact on the business. And the other types of attacks where they're stealing information, most of the time, companies never find out unless it's too late. Again, it's usually ransom or extortion. They're two sides of the same coin. So an extortion attack might be where they get onto a network, they exfiltrate data, and then they say, hey, listen, we got all of this data. Do you want us to post your bank account numbers, customer information, your intellectual property, your plans, whatever it is? You want us to post them online? Huh? If not, pay up, okay? So this is, I think, a very big problem. There are major blocks between IT, information technology, and security teams. And I also have to point out that most IT decisions nowadays, most what would normally be an information technology decision, is actually being handled by a line of business manager. Who chose the software you're using to track your customers? It was probably the sales guy, right? It's not the CEO, it's not the IT director. It's the director of sales or marketing or the accounting people who decided to use QuickBooks Online as opposed to using something else. All of these types of decisions are out of the hands of IT and are way out of the hands of the cybersecurity people. That's because of this massive changing landscape out there. It's absolutely huge. Now, there's a survey also of 250 information technology workers, and they found that 61% of the companies experienced a cybersecurity incident affecting their factories. 61% of manufacturers had a cybersecurity incident that affected the factories. And 3/4 of those incidences took production offline. That's according to another report that came out in March. Just mind-blowing, isn't it? So ransomware accounts for only 13% of these attempted attacks on devices. But the information thieves account for 31% of the attacks, and fileless attacks account for 28%. So here's a quote from morphous. These are the guys that produced the first report I mentioned. Although these sobering threats are certainly not limited to the manufacturing industry, cyber attackers are acutely aware of the data manufacturing facilities have on hand, right? Think about all of that data. Think about all of the intellectual property. So it goes on. In fact, some cybercrime groups have even been using ransomware as a smokescreen for cyber attacks designed to steal intellectual property, increasing the damage they can inflict in the long run as they bully victims by threatening to leak data if they don't pay. Now, I've warned about that before. If you've got something that looks like a ransomware attack happening, it pops up on your screen, it's got that classic red screen, ransomware pay up, that may just be a smokescreen. You may not have ransomware. Your files may not be encrypted, because what most of these guys nowadays are doing is making additional money off of stealing your files. So it depends on the group. This isn't what DarkSide does, but some other groups do. And they can really sock it to you. Ever since the authorities disrupted the Emotet network in January, we've seen attacks split in two, and smaller groups are increasingly working together in new ways. And these highly targeted groups are very dangerous because they can execute multifaceted attacks, giving the collective expertise. Again, it's just like business. If you're trying to sell something, you need to narrow down. You need to get as narrow as possible. And that means these cyber groups are specializing in a specific industry, and they're specializing in a specific way to attack. This is really fascinating. There's a few reports that come out every year. Verizon has a very good one on cyber attack statistics. IBM has one. Gartner, of course, always does their little thing on the side. Those tend to be kind of more narrowly focused. But this is the first time we've seen this report. So we don't have any sort of comparative data from prior years. But what these guys are saying is that the pandemic has shifted attack trends, and ransomware has grown from single-digit percentages to 13%, as I mentioned already. Almost 2/3 of surveyed employees believe that the chance of a breach increased because of remote work. And we know that's true. FBI's been warning about that. We've seen it again and again. So be very careful. Most of these manufacturing companies have had people working from home during the lockdowns. Nearly 2/3 said that it has increased the risk of a breach, and let me tell you, it really has. So keep all of that in mind. If you are in manufacturing, or if you're concerned about our manufacturing base here in the U.S., man, is there something to be worried about. And that's a shame. How do we conduct business? How do we keep our economy going if our manufacturers are getting knocked down or getting knocked out of the game? Hey, visit me online, craigpeterson.com. You'll find all of this, all of my podcasts, and much more.